Go. All right, welcome to today's presentation on the new permitting and inspection software here at Catawba County. My name is Alex Hayden. I am the business process manager over in the utilities and engineering department. And I'll be taking you through a bit of a walkthrough today about the new system, as well as how to navigate through it. So first thing we're going to do is just put in our easy to do web address of ePermits.catawba county.nc.gov. Hit enter. And that will go ahead and take us all the way over here to the portal that we've got set up for y'all. Right off the bat, you can see that there's a link to go into the portal as well as a parcel search. The parcel search is if you want to do anything by the actual address and look up some of the more common details. I won't get into that too much in this presentation, but know that it's there and it doesn't require an account. In the same way, the portal here will actually let you go in without having an account first. And there are some things that you can see in here that you wouldn't on that first page, including the inspection schedule, which is public. So you don't have to have an account, or if you're on a public computer and you need to look it up real quick, you always can. I also want to point out for those that are working with the various jurisdictions, make sure you scroll down a little bit because I know every computer monitor is a little different. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to check that zoning district. We've already had a few applications come through and we've had to go back and try to do some corrections, but this makes it really simple to figure out which zoning department you should be applying for by just typing in the address, clicking on it, and it'll give me the zoning district as well as their contact information. So it's nice that way if you're trying to get a hold of someone as well and trying to get some stuff figured out. But that's all right there on the main page, along with a link that'll get you to some tutorials and the inspection schedule and reports that are available there as well. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and start signing up for an account. But I'm going to cheat a little bit. We're going to go over to the training environment since I don't want to do anything with the real permits in the system. And we're going to put in the email address we'll be using, as well as the password that we'd like to use for the system. And if you have an access code, this is where you would put it in initially. These are pretty much going to be for anyone that's been doing contracting work with the county for the last 5 years and has had an active permit. There's a very good chance that we've already got an account set up with you with some of the applications attached. That's still an ongoing manual process of getting them all attached, but we can at least get you that access code in advance so that you're set up properly with your company's access code. It's okay if you didn't do it, or if you've already been in the system and created one, we can always get you one after the fact too, and we'll go over how to do that here. But this is where you put that in. I'm just going to hit next here. I'll put in name, last name, and typically if you have a company name or doing business as, the display name's a good place to put that because that's what will be displayed for folks. Go ahead and put in a fake movie phone number. And here I have the choice of putting in work, sell, home, a few other options. I'm just going to choose sell here. And you can always modify that later on if need be. It's going to ask you to go ahead and review the information that you've put in, make sure everything looks correct. I'm going to agree to the terms and conditions, create my account, saying that my account has been created, but that it now needs to be verified, and that I should be getting an email message here. This in front of the thing. This is where I'll go ahead and get the email from the system saying that we'd like you to verify your account. All I have to do here is click the verify button, but before I do that, it's important that I make sure that I actually log out here. The system doesn't like you being already logged in. It gets concerned that it might be a bot or something else that's trying to take your account. So make sure you log out there. And then when you go ahead and hit that button, we can see that duct construction has now been verified and is ready to go ahead and submit applications. To submit an application, I just go into that portal button again, and I go to the apply online here. And here I can select from the various jurisdictions, various agencies that we have for permitting. If you need something to do with county zoning, you can go in here, get it done. The permit center, which is what we'll do today, go in here and select from the options based on what you need. I've got a residential new single family that I'm going to do. So I'm just going to click on that bubble there. And I will point out, and it should be this one. Some of them will actually give you a nice little blue eye here that provides you with some additional information if you're curious about what that is. I know that some homeowners want to do parts of the project themselves sometimes, which is fine. And this can be helpful for them so that they understand what pieces they need to do, as well as some of the nuances, because I know that different jurisdictions can act a little differently. So you can always look there if you're trying to figure out some of the specifics. But like I said, we'll just move along here. It'll go ahead and ask me for the address of my project. Now, I know that some folks will be working on something that may not have been given an address yet. If that's the case, you can go ahead and click on this little link here for enter a parcel number, because that should already be in existence, and use that instead. I'm going to go ahead and give it an address though, since I have one on hand. It'll give me a chance to again review the information or edit it if I realized I misclicked on the one that was there. And I'll hit save and continue. And it'll welcome me to the page and let me know some of the actions that I can do on it. I'm just going to hit get started to click past that. And it's at this point that we see that I've got my application started and that I've been given a reference number. This reference number is actually very important for the new system. For those that were with us using the old system, this is similar to the permit number, but not quite the same. The system acts a little differently. Permit number was established previously right away with the previous system. Now this will be given an application number, which is universally unique. There will only be one with this number, and it will carry throughout the entire application process, even after the permit is issued. So if you're calling in and you want to make it very clear to folks, you can go, my reference number is, and give them the digits here, and they'll be able to look at it regardless of what stage it's at. The permit number actually won't get assigned, and we'll see that later, until the permit is issued. Prior to that, and even again after, I would suggest using the reference number or the address. The system is very friendly with addresses and parcels to go ahead and reference if you're calling or emailing in about some problems or some questions you might have. At this point, I have the option to do things like give it a project name, describe the purpose of it. But what we really want to look at is anything that actually has these red markers saying that it's not completed, as well as we'll see in a moment, some of the green ones even. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and say that I need to add a contractor. At this point, if you're new to the area or for some reason we don't have an access code for you, which could always happen with the data transfer. I know that we've had a few that just didn't come through like they were supposed to. You can always click here to request a contractor account, and it'll take you to a form to do that. Pretty basic, just giving us the information we need to verify that you're working in the area. But I'm going to go back to the application here. And while Daffy hasn't been verified, he does have his good friend Bugs ready to take on the project for him. So we've now added Bunny Construction as a contractor, and you can add multiple. And this is something that is actually, I think, going to be really useful for anybody that does a lot of sub-permitting work. If you're working in the trades and you've got a lot of general contractors that you might work with, you can actually attach them to any applications that you're submitting so they can see what's going on with them and get notifications if they want to. You can do that with owners as well by adding them into the contacts here. It gives you a lot of options so that people can stay informed. The one thing I will say is if you're doing one of the trades, let's say you're the electrical contractor, you need to be the one filling out the electrical application. You need to be the one virtually signing it, as we'll see in a moment. And you need to make sure that you're also set up and clicked as the primary contractor on the electrical.
You'll have to go back and then carry on with the permit process. But if they're new, it'll stop them.
It's well, the system's not gonna. So the question for those that are online was, how long does it typically take to get set up as a contractor? And the answer to that is that what it's going to do is it's going to shoot a message to our staff because they have to manually enter it. So they'll be keeping an eye on it and prioritizing it. It's usually a fairly quick turnaround, but I mean, any given day, you know how things ebb and flow. But yeah, they'll get an email notification from staff that, yep, you're up and set up as a contractor now, so they can go back to the application, and when they go to add themselves, they should see that option now. Gonna go ahead and fill out the permit details here. As throughout most systems, if you see red, it's fairly important. The red asterisks here, or asterisks, I'm not really sure, actually tell you that these have to be filled out. The other ones do not, if they do not have this red asterisk. Now, I will say you should probably still keep an eye on and read the options that aren't with that red asterisk right now, because you're going to run into some questions that are going to relate to you on a variable basis, really depending on what your project is and if it has any important caveats. So yes, I need an electrical trade with this, plumbing and mechanical, but we're just going to keep it real basic. Okay, I don't need these other options. Put in my total square footage. A little big. So temp electric, do need a power pole. Not going to do any gas for the project. And here we get to the legal signature portion of the application. If you run into anything that, as you can see here, when I'm hovering my mouse over it, gives you that kind of stop sign without the red indication, that's okay. That's not an error. System set up in such a way that we don't want you actually having to put information in there. This is more information for you to go over. So here what we're seeing is a listing of the choices that will be shown below, saying that you're agreeing to either choice A, B, or C. When you go down here to select from the choices above. So I'm going to say that I'm the general contractor in this case. I'll go ahead and put in my name for account. And then lastly, I'll go ahead and agree that I am signing this form electronically and that it is the equivalent of my actual written signature, and save. And I will give you a warning. You can actually fill some of the stuff out in advance and come back to it. Just remember to hit the save button Because if you don't save, just like when you're working in a Word document, it won't be there when you come back. So if it's something that you think you're going to need to return to and you've already filled out partially, there's no reason that you need to waste that work. You can go ahead and save there. It's at this point that I'll point out something a little bit important. So submittals are going to be a thing that sometimes you're going to see that you need to complete something right off the bat. Other times you don't. Go ahead and still open this because it's going to tell you in a lot of cases whether or not you're going to need to submit some auxiliary information. And it'll provide hyperlinks to where you get that. So if I click here, because my construction value is going to be more than 40,000, I've got my workers' comp. I can go ahead and download that, save it, fill it out. And then when I'm done, I can just upload it. We'll just choose a random one. It'll give me a green check mark when it's done. I'll hit close. Page will update, and I can now see that there's been one file that was uploaded, and that staff are actually going to physically manually review, make sure everything's filled out on like it should be. If you're ever uncertain about where you get the document, a lot of times we do have these hyperlinks set up, so it's just that easy click away. This will take you to the liens and C site. And again, those different forms if they're available. The other thing that I find that's useful for folks to know, because we've had multiple questions come up about it, is that a lot of times at this point in the process, when you are calling folks or submitting an actual paper application, you are actually giving payment right then and there. The system and the way that it works now, it's not going to show that you owe anything until you get to the point that money is actually getting collected, which is a little bit later on because we're dealing with a virtual system. If you're curious as to what the actual estimate is, though, you can always open up this permit fees here and get a look at the balance to see how much is likely going to be owed. We want to make sure, though, and we're having staff review this each time just to make sure that you guys aren't getting charged more than you should. It's a new system, and if questions aren't triggering the right fees, we want to make sure that people aren't having to pay more than they should, and that we're not having to go through a bunch of rigmarole for both you and us with doing refunds, new receipts, etc. So right now there's a little bit of a manual process where they review it, and then later you'll get a notification that payment's due. If you're curious, you can also see things like some of the inspections that are associated with this, and we'll come back to that tab a little bit later. Some of the conditions, the parcel itself, if I want to go directly to it and its information, as well as some of the approval steps that'll get updated over time as staff are doing actions. So this will move from pending to in progress to actually being completed as folks are doing the work. So you can check and see where it's at in real time or if it's potentially stalled on something. I'm going to go ahead and submit the application. It'll let me know now that it is awaiting completeness review by staff. And I can come back to this application at any time. I'm going to show you all the quick button. So up here, the logos that are in the top left will take you all the way back to the home page. And if I go back into the portal, now I can see that I've got one active application, and I can always go in here and view whatever applications I have that are waiting for me. At this point, I've also received a notification. I apologize for the size of my monitor here. That the application has actually been shared with the permit team and that it's at a current status of pending, as well as some of the details with it. And if I hit the view button, it's going to take me directly to that application as well. And most of the notifications that come from our system are going to let you do that if you click on the view button. For the sake of expediency, we're going to jump into Bugs Bunny's account here. and show off some additional options since he's already got some stuff applied for and waiting to pay. I will say, speaking of notifications, that if you find that the system's a little too chatty, a little noisy when it comes to the amount of notifications you're getting, you can always modify those yourself. So if you go up to your name after you've logged in and hit my account, it'll take you to this page here. And you can click on Manage Email Notifications to control what it is that you are actually receiving. So for some folks, they might just want to know when it's submitted, when payments due, when something's finalized, closed. You're the one that controls these options, though. We actually have no control over them in the back. So, it's going to be up to you how noisy or quiet you want it to be. But, my suggestion obviously is you do want to know that it's been submitted. You want to know when payments due, and you probably want to know when it's been filed and closed at the very least. But we're all kind of working with it, and I think you'll all find your sweet spot eventually when it comes to how much you want to know or hear about particular permits. So we're back at the home screen here, and we're going to go into the portal. And I've gotten a notification. Bring up folks' account. Something like you do any of these. There we go. I've gotten a notification that payment was needed and that we're at a point where a particular permit's ready to issue. So I can hit the view button there, and this will be a good point to actually show what it does if I'm not logged in. Log out. Because it'll just ask me to go ahead and sign into my account. And it'll take me directly there. So I can always hit the pay online button here. Or as we were seeing in the other screen, we can actually go into our account and pay within there. They're both going to take us to the same spot, so not too much to worry about there. I will say the nice thing about this system is that if you have multiple items that need to be paid for, you can go ahead and hit the Add All to Cart button. I will add a warning, though, with this, in that if you are someone who is working with a general contractor and they're on there, the general contractor is likely also going to see anything that might get owed. Anyone who's a contractor on there is going to see the same payment. So just double check and make sure that it's something that you in fact owe and it's not something one of your partners owed or that you've agreed that the owner should be paying for before you go ahead and hit that Add All to Cart. Just give it a quick look over. Going to go ahead and just add that one singularly. I'm going to proceed to checkout. It's going to show me in advance what this is for. So there's the reference number for our application, how much is due. I'm going to proceed to checkout. And here I'm going to go ahead and put in company name, since we're going to pretend that it's a company card. And you may have a different billing address than the actual physical address that you've put in for the account. So just kind of keep an eye on that because that's where it's going to pull it from. But if that's different, you're going to need to make sure that you update it here when you do this. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. It's going to show me in advance what the receipt number is going to be. I'll hit continue again. And here I have the option to either pay with credit card or electronic check. I'll make a note that electronic check is really just a check. You can take a check from your checkbook, fill out the information here, just like it is on the check, enter that amount in, fill out the check like you would, right on the back, submit it online, just so that you can keep it for your records. But if you're running into problems with the credit card company, or you're someone that doesn't actually use credit cards, you can still do the checks online as well. I'm going to go ahead and do a credit card here, though, since we've already got a dummy set up. After I put in my credit card information, I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to check the box here to agree to be charged and then submit the payment. At this point, I've now been shot back and I've got my payment confirmation. If I want, I can just click on the print receipt option here to go ahead and print out the receipt or to download and save it. It can take a little while sometimes for it to generate these because it's pulling a lot of information. I can also look at my payment history just to view everything that I've done here, so we can see the additional charges that I've done underneath this account. I'm not gonna play nice today. That's okay. You can always go back to it anytime. Ta-da. So at this point, I've actually paid for my permit, and it should be at the point that it's issued. So if I go in and view it and open up the active records, I can see that it's been issued and that it now has a permit number also associated with it. Again, I would still, if you're calling in, you're emailing because you're having some complications, you want to talk about it, still give the reference number, but the permit number is there in some of the scenarios where we do need that and it needs to be requested. I'm also going to show you guys that you can print out the permit yourselves here as well. So this is a nice little function of the system. You don't have to stop in, get anything from us. After it's been paid for and hit an actual issued state, you can go ahead and print the permit out. I will say the training environment's given a few less resources than the live environment, so you probably won't run into this in there. There we go. So here we can see that the permit has been printed out. You can give it to whoever, the customer that you're working with, keep it for your own records, whatever you need to do. In the case that you actually don't owe any fees, you can issue the permit yourself. Just because I know that a lot of our sub permits, if you're doing the trades on a new construction, there's not a fee associated with it. But you can go in here and this pay online button will actually just change to say issue my permit, because the fees will be 0. So you can issue it there and it'll print out for you as well. At this point, I'm going to jump over to yet another account. We're getting on board with Porky Pig this time, who's going in. He's going to go into his portal and he'd like to actually request an inspection. And it's here that he can just hit the request button. And at this point, I will make the important note of this is just a request. This isn't a formal scheduling of. There are certain obligations that we have to meet with different kinds of construction. So we do have to manually review which requests come in for when and prioritize appropriately based on the standards that we have to meet. So it is a request. And there are certain dates that will kind of be filled up as you go. When I go to the application here, I'll be able to see all the applications I have along with their address. When I click on that, it'll then give me the inspections that I can actually select from. And we've got a little example up here of the order that they typically go in, just to kind of help folks out. For right now, I'm just gonna cheat a little bit and do plumbing under slab. And then if I want to change my requested for date, I can just enter it in here. We can see that these dates have already passed and that Friday is in the red, so I cannot actually schedule for that at this point as a request, but I can still request things through the 8th, and that we've got holidays that are also closed off. So I'm just going to choose the 8th since it's the most recent date. And you can choose if you have any particular preference on the time slot, whether it be AM, PM, or if it doesn't really matter either way. I'm going to choose no preference. If there are additional comments that you need to make, whether it be go ahead something along the line of asking the inspector to call ahead, or other potential notes that you want to make to them or the permit staff regarding this is where you'd enter them. So arrival, and we'd go ahead and request the inspection. And now when I go down to the inspections on this application, I can see that I've got this inspection pending. And that when it gets scheduled, it'll update to say scheduled, and it'll be formally committed then. If for any reason I need to cancel it, all I have to do is hit that cancellation button. And again, if I have any comments, I can put them in there. And just like that, my inspection's been canceled. I can go ahead and request the inspection again and change my date. I'm going to choose under slab. I'm going to say that I need to do it on Wednesday because the client wants to be there. No preference again. And request the inspection. I will make a note at this point, just because we're already at a friendly place for it, that you might see that this is actually showing you that this is part of a larger project. So in this case, it's telling us that if we click on this, we can go to the parent permit and see the information for it. And we can see that Bunny Construction is doing some work here. And if he were to log in, he'd actually be able to see all of the stuff that's going on underneath it as well. And this is stuff that the back office staff will be doing. They'll be adding it in, but it's also partly why we're asking on a lot of the trade applications and other applications that might be under something else, what that number's for, so we can get them connected so that everybody can kind of see their place in the project and where those different pieces are at. At this point, I'm going to take a pretty strong guess that most people already know that this is out here. But if I go to the main website, I can also look at the results for any particular inspection by going to the main page and clicking on that link that I mentioned earlier. And I can look up the results by site address. I know that's the one that I tend to look at. And this will get updated throughout the day. You'll have to run it again, click on the link again, but it'll give you an idea of where things stand. If you've got more than one project, it's a good place to look so that you can see multiple at once. I find that the color coding is very friendly so that you have an immediate understanding of whether it passed or failed, what the results were, as well as the information for the inspector who did it and their contact information if you do need to give them a call or try to get some specifics as to what might need to be done next. And I will say, just kind of as a heads up as well, it will default to whatever's going on for today. But you can always change the date later on if need be. Well, it should be prompting for that, but it looks like maybe they removed that. I'll have to talk to our programmers, but that's all right for now. If you are looking for an older one, or you do want to know how something was resulted, you can always go to another inspection. So let's go ahead and goods. I can always go in here. See that I have upcoming inspections, but I can always then go to my applications and see if I have any particular results. So here I can see that this particular inspection was failed, but I've got one that's pending that hasn't been scheduled yet. And if I want to see the details around why that one was failed, I can just hit on that little kind of folded piece of paper icon there. And it'll give me the inspection results and details about that. So I can see here the comments, where it was done when, as well as some of the details that are on the actual application. We're trying to make it as friendly as possible. There are multiple ways to get to that inspection result information. Even the notification you get about a failure, you can click on that view button. It'll take you to the application if you want to get more details. All you have to do is go down to that inspections part and actually hit the little piece of paper for more results info. Lastly, I should have one of these already prepared. Once you're getting to the end of your project, all the inspections have been passed and finalized. You'll get to a point where you'll likely receive a notification about either a certificate of occupancy or compliance pending. And this is where the staff in back essentially are going to work their magic and get one printed out for you on that particular application and attach it as a note. So this will show up as a new section for you. It'll show up as an attachment. And all you have to do is click on that certificate. And it's there for you to download, hand out, etc., give to your client, keep on file, whatever you need to. At this point, I'll go ahead and just open up for questions. If you don't have questions, I can always give you a little tips and tricks here and there if you like. Certainly.
So, one gas company.
Mhm.
So I schedule meters, so I need to see a lot of time to go and see what a commit number is. So I'm struggling finding the commit number. The only thing I'm really getting is the record. So can I give you an address and you kind of go through the search window like I would? I do the parcel search.
Let's go to the live environment.
Yeah. I mean, this is real life.
So the question was looking up the results essentially for an inspection on a property, just for the folks that are attending virtually. So we're going to go to the parcel search here.
Address from 4846 Maiden Street.
So I guess a little word of caution. I find that less is better in a lot of cases. Go ahead and let it fill the rest of it out for you and click on that. Just because if you get one character off, it'll pretend that it has no idea what you're talking about.
So on this document, where do I find the inspection? The old original, the 23-12335.
So if you can scroll down is one option and it'll start taking you all the way through details and zoning and applications, or basically when you get down to this bar, find the quicker thing to do is just hit applications. And you'll see that there are the various reference numbers here. So I'll click on that. And this actually is a little bit of a good time to bring this up since we're looking at it. I will make a note that this legacy status is indicative of something that came over from the old system. So there are still some manual pieces to it that our staff have to do to touch it and basically get the the square peg in the round hole a little bit since we're transferring from one piece of software to another. So there might be a few things that are a little different on it as opposed to one that you just do starting from scratch in the new system. But bear with, that's a pretty good indication that some of it may be a little different than what you're looking for. But at least here, when it comes to the inspections, we can go down into the inspections and I can see that the temporary gas connection was passed and on the date that it was.
I still do not see that. Condition or inspection.
About the permit number. So I got it, Stephen, don't worry.
Normally they'll sticker the pipe with a number on it, and I like to reference that in that order. I'm struggling to find it.
Well, and that's because this is in legacy, because it hasn't been issued yet in the system. So it was given a number in the old system. That number doesn't exist in the new system because of how it was migrated over. And there's not a lot that we can do about that. Well, the permit number is typically going to be, I think we're adding it to the project name. But yeah. If it's been worked on, you'll typically find it in the project description. But at that point, usually, I mean, but not always, like I said, it's a lot of moving pieces right now.
Put that down so our service match to verify it's been inspected with the right order. Our checks and balances. And right now, I guess I'm thinking the reference number is the new inspection number. Like that. I think the reference number is based for this person only. Not so much with it. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah, but how would I find that? Right.
That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these are migrated. You didn't bring over those numbers, that this is the project. You have to touch everything in one and get it out of legacy status, so we can issue it, so we can change the permit after the original.
So we're gonna leave it.
So, and you were doing that, original placement.
Well, the old,
You're trying to match up.
the old system, yeah, what it is, everything inspected had its own number. You got a builder number, then gas pipe and electric had its own.
You still do.
Yeah, so and the reference number is that, like I said earlier, it travels throughout the whole system. It is a completely unique number.
But where I'm at is, let's just say, Ben Thompson, whatever. He goes out and stickers this address, and he puts 23-12345 on the pipe. That's the inspection number for the gas. That's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. How can I see it sitting at my office and know what that number is? Because when he calls me, when he wants the gas meter set, he's giving me this address. Does that make sense? So when I put in the address, I'm not finding that traditional gas permit.
No, you're not, believe me, I've seen another, we have to update all of them, and that's the problem.
So kind of what I'm doing in my order, trick through, I'm using the reference. That's all I got to go by. But when my tech goes out there, he doesn't know a reference number from his birthday. He's just looking for that permit inspection. So we're just trusting that. Yeah, see, right, some of those I'm getting, I get 6 of these a day, and I'm seeing like Lowland Shade came through. Those are my development. So see where it says permit number? It's just giving me a reference.
That's the problem.
Oh, I got that.
And we haven't updated that page. We have to physically go into it, check out about 6 or 7 different tabs to get to the point that we can issue it, that we can change that permit. Because if let's change that permit number, before we had to do that, we had to do it to an issue status to be able to convert that number back to the original.
So is it gonna be a long-term?
Well, it shouldn't be. It'll phase out over time. And part of what we can do, and I can do here that'll provide a little bit of help is we can get this report updated so that it has both the permit number and the reference number on it. Yeah, we can do that. I think that's probably the closest thing I've got to an immediate solution, but I think that'll get you most, if not all of the way there. So really, we just need to have one more column added next to the permit number for the reference number for
I
y'all.
don't trust my building. Don't see where I'm going with this. They'll tell me something's been inspected and it's passed, and I'll schedule a meter and we'll go and it's not.
Okay,
I like to do my diligent homework, and I go in there and I'm gonna double check for myself before I roll the truck out there.
okay, yeah.
And if all I'm seeing is reference from it, and if it says pass, I'm pushing it on through.
Project manager, we haven't touched it because it's gonna be in the project management.
We could put it in, I get what you're saying. We could put in the project name, but I like, because of the transition, that's gonna cause confusion, because remember, our inspection tracker is gonna be doing it that way. So you'll see reference numbers in multiple places, and I'm afraid that that'll cause more confusion than help for folks.
Moving forward, you're always gonna have the reference number and a permit.
Mm-hmm.
Ones we haven't touched. They do not have a new assigned number to, they don't do, that doesn't happen until we get it to issue status where it generates the new permit number, then we have to change it.
We can talk through some possibilities. For now, I think getting them the reference number added on there. Yeah, like I said,
Same.
yeah, even if they're the same, it'll at least verify that it's both. So I think that kind of will fix most of it. I get what you're saying, Pat, but it's gonna be a little. I can explain to you later why that could be problematic and tricky just for multiple reasons, but
And we'll figure a workaround on this. We're not here. I just thought it might be hidden, I just did not see, but obviously. Well, some of those reports are coming, some of the reports that come through 6 times a day, some of them give me the number. Some of them don't, so it makes me wonder.
it depends if staff have had a chance to. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time, that was my main concern. Is this gonna be the new inspection number that's not like? Well, it would be nice if you could throw that under part of the project and add a permit number under it as well, that'd be super great.
The until there's a permit number, there's nothing for us to add,
Well, this
so. It's from the old system, but then someone has to manually look at it anyway, so we're still back to where we were.
Things coming in new, it may fix itself.
Oh, they'll be fine. It's just the stuff that's in transition, this legacy stuff that's been pulled apart across, sorry. Yeah, it'll work itself out over a little bit of time. And for those attending virtually, the short and sweet there was that there are, again, things that we have to do physically and touch manually, just to get everything kind of in order when it comes to the stuff that was transitioned over or that's in that legacy status, but.
We know that.
Yeah, that we essentially, yeah, well, there's some, again, it's that.
Yeah, we know that there's something.
And to that effect, what I'm gonna start having my ladies do, we've been scheduling as fast as we can without updating contractor files. But we're gonna start looking at every contractor file because those legacy ones, they're missing contractors. That's the reason you can't see it through the portal. So we're gonna add you as a contractor on that. We're gonna look at the old system, add it, so that you can at least see it. It'll still say legacy, and we won't update everything because we don't have time. But at least we can get it to where you can see it and schedule it through the portal by adding you into that contractor file. Where right now, if you're not there, you can't see it.
If you don't have the right access code,
Yeah.
you won't be able to see it.
So you need to get your portal set up with the right access code too,
I've got that.
okay? And then once we start updating,
Verified thing,
yeah,
and I can't do crap.
Yeah.
I still want to verify. I know what I'm saying.
yeah.
He don't look at his email.
Oh,
That's the thing, and I'm having, I can't do anything. And I finally found out last night why I can't do anything, because he ain't looked at his email to verify.
but, okay,
Once he gets that done, I can get my work done.
yeah.
That's it. I do not understand this. I think my, I mean, I'm permit, and I can get food.
I'm not probably specific to us, just the IT side, but on these legacy status versions, like they're not showing on my portal, I'm angry with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they're not showing on my portal, I can go in like that with the address.
Yes, you can still. You won't be able to pull for inspection through here because this is the public one. That's part of why we're verifying account, verifying that it's real people and the right person that's actually requesting the inspections. So
That's exactly what I was just talking about. We need to touch that case. You need to email us. If you don't see it on the portal, email like that. We need to look at the case, add you as a contractor file. Just talk to Amanda. She helps us with emails. We're gonna start checking everyone and adding that contractor file so that you'll be able to see it. We'll schedule the inspection too. But you should be able to see it, say if you need the results or to schedule a recheck at that point.
And my. Back office.
Yeah, she's the one
Yeah,
that
yeah,
has the
yeah.
account issue.
but we could get together after, because I think I know where we're going with that one. But for those, again, attending virtually, the question was if you have one of these that's in legacy status that hasn't quite been touched yet, you know that you need inspections and the like. The real short and sweet is to contact us the traditional way that you had, do that permit apps at Catawba County nc.gov email address. You can give us a call as well. All that information is on our website still. You know, if you really want to see our smiling faces, you know, maybe provide some donuts in the morning, pizza at lunch. You can always come in too. We're still there. But yeah, so the traditional methods are still there while we're doing this transition. So you're not locked out in that respect. But as we get more and more into it, hopefully we won't have to rely on the old methods. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's still stuff we have to do since we're between
Some cases.
so many cases. Do we have any other questions or any questions from the chat? That is. That can be something that we kind of talk a little bit after about. It's going to be a little different than I think what most of the people that have signed up here are going to be looking at. But we can get together afterwards as well. Carissa, you said that there was some from the chat. If you go to the scheduled inspections report, yeah, oh, sorry, yeah. So the question was, can you see the inspector if you get a notification that something's been scheduled? And their contact information, and the answer is yes. If you go to that main portal, and this is the training environment, so let me get the real one up for a second. And if I go down to click here for inspection schedule, I can go ahead and put in the date of whenever my inspection is scheduled for. And I can see who the inspector is as well as their contact information. Along with project name, permit number, etc. So yeah, it is available online. You can just go to the scheduler and look it up there. You need to get in contact with them in advance.
All those inspect, those kids for one day.
Yep.
How do
Yeah.
they cover it?
You know, Stephen, maybe you should explain how they cover all of that in one day. It is crazy.
I mean,
Yeah, we have. Okay, we've got another question online. Okay, okay. I believe I get where the question is going. So the question more or less was if you're a general contractor and you've got subs that are applying, do I, the general contractor, need to do something to add them, or should they be going in themselves? The answer to that is that your subs, your trades typically, they need to be applying themselves, and what they need to be doing is if they want the general contractor to be able to see it, actually add in the general contractor while they're putting in the application. So I got Porky Pig here. We'll go for a second. Porky's a plumber. I'm gonna go to the portal here. I'm gonna apply online. And so if I'm doing the plumbing, I'm putting in my address. Started. When I go to the contractors here, I'm gonna add myself, or Porky in this case. And I'm gonna select, Porky has both plumbing and mechanical. I just want to select his plumbing because obviously that's the work I'm doing on this particular application. Don't do both. And then now I can add another contractor as well. So if I know that I'm working with Bunny Construction, I can add them to the permit as well as a contractor. But I make sure that I myself am left on as the primary, that Porky is the primary since he is the plumber. And what this will do is it will now generate, when there are updates to this particular item on the project, the plumbing portion, they'll know what's going on with the plumbing permit as well. You can keep adding. As long as they've got an account in the system, they'll be getting the notifications as well. And we'll go typically the extra step of even and I'll show that right here in Bugs's account. We're also connecting more or less the main permit and the sub permits as they're applied for and put in. So if Bugs wants to see what's going on with a particular project, he can always look at the related permits tab on any particular application. And he can see now that, okay, there's an electrical attached to this. He can see the reference number for it, what status it's at. So we can see that the electrical is waiting payment, plumbing's already been issued, but that the mechanical is still under review. And then if he were added as a contact on here or as a contractor, he would actually be seeing the full bit of information. Right now, all he can see is the public because he wasn't actually added on as a contact.
No contract. I go in. I have installation. Well, I have an issue with the contract.
building permit issue, a lot of times I can pay the fee, all of it, even if it's paid fee. Is that what this program is? If you individually pay the fee?
So well, I mean, it's gonna be based off of the fee schedule essentially. So if more or less, if it's new construction, new square footage, your subs typically aren't going to be paying for anything. But if it's something along the lines of an alteration, again, just the same way that the fee schedule set up, it's going to calculate it that way. I know that we've got a few questions in there that should help trigger that. We have questions in a lot of the trades that say something along the lines of, you know, is this for a new building or something adding square footage? You put yes, and it goes, okay, well then you don't need to pay for anything. And then our staff will just go in and verify that, yep, it's that way, connect to the right project, and everybody goes on their way. So. So permanent apps would be a good place to start, or giving us a phone call. It kind of depends on what is the wrong, essentially. There are going to be a handful of things that only you can do, but I might be able to help walk you through, or that the staff might be able to. If it's just that you need to add your access code because you didn't have it before, I can go to my account up here after I get the code from us. And if I click on access code, so again, I've logged in, I hit my account, it takes me to this page, and I hit access code. This is where if I've already created an account, but I need to actually, again, associate one that was already in existence when we transferred it over, you can put in your access code information here. So in this case, I can actually take this one that I set up for Bunny Construction, put it in, and submit. Well, it'll be the access code here. But that access code, you'll have to, again, email us at permitapps@catawbacounty.nc.gov. Give us a phone call. Basically, let us know that you're missing it so that we can then get it to you. You're welcome. We have another virtual question. Okay, yep. So the question for those, because my commenter is way off in the bag there, is how do you get your certificate of occupancy, certificate of compliance, your job placard card? The answer at this point, it really is to contact us again via that permit apps at Catawba County NC, or at the phone number that we've got on the website. Staff typically are going to be, and like I said, we're in transition. They're learning the system too, just as much as you are, and they've got more to learn, I guarantee it. But they will, over time, be adding it standard as a note. So I'm going to go back to that application that Bugs had. And if I go in here, I can look at the permit notes and see that I've got a certificate of compliance waiting for me. In the same way, we can put the job placard cards there, or if we need to, we can always just shoot you an email with them as well. Whatever works best. But like I said, we're all still kind of learning. So if something gets missed, just contact us, let us know, we'll get it to you. Anything else from chat? All right. I have one other little itty bitty tip for folks before we leave. And I'm sure this will be useful for varying degrees for folks, kind of depending on what you're working on. Let's do Bugs here. the system actually has a way to let you copy applications so you don't have to keep entering in the same information that you use commonly over and over and over again. Yes, I figured that most people want to know about this one because it can be a time saver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply online. I'm going to go to whatever permit type it is that I'm typically dealing with. So here I'll pretend that it's going to be a townhouse. I'll hit next because a lot of those can have very similar constructions. I'm going to put in an address. It really doesn't matter which one. Your company address might be a good way to clarify to folks, hey, this is not one to submit because obviously we're not building on top of the address that we're at. Save and continue. And my suggestion is kind of just write something along the lines of a little description for yourself, like a 4-pack town template. Just so you don't forget what you got this one saved for. But I can go in, I can pre-add myself as a contractor. I can go into the details. I know it's going to be a townhouse. I know this is going to be a 4-pack. Might want to leave, you know, if I know it's going to be for the same development, I might go ahead and fill these out because they're all going to be similar hookups. Might not if I don't want to. Might put in the description, you know, townhome. Say units, et cetera. I know that I'm going to need these particular trades. And I don't have to fill out all of this, so I can just go ahead and hit save. And at this point, what I'm going to do is not submit it. And just from here on out, click on the options button. And in the same way that once the permit's issued, we can print the permit. Before it's actually been submitted, we can just copy the application. Not delete. And now I can put in the new street address. And I can choose what I'd like to copy over. So I know I want to copy over contractor, I want to do details, may not want to do project name, that's fine. I can create the application. And now I've got my new location already set up. I'm already set up as the contractor, as well as my common information already filled out. Wanted to make sure that everybody left today at least knowing that one, because like I said, I think it can be useful if you have similar units that you do for change outs. You might have some stuff set up for those. If you know that your plumbing exchanges are going to be for particular bathrooms, run a certain number of fixtures most of the time. There's a lot of stuff that you can pre-fill out. But I think that's it, unless we've got any last minute questions. Otherwise, I will get to the folks with the unique questions in the back. Anything from chat? Nope. All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. And yeah, let us know if if you run into anything. Oh, leave the session open? Yeah, I can do that.